It was a warm Saturday afternoon in Riverton, a peaceful suburban town where life moved at a leisurely pace. Families strolled through the park, children laughed as they raced toward the swings, and neighbors exchanged polite greetings on their way to the local farmers market. The sun cast a golden hue over everything, making the town seem almost picturesque. But for Jordan Mitchell, today was about more than just enjoying the weekend. He had one goal in mind: to buy the perfect birthday gift for his little sister, Maya. Jordan had been saving up for months, working extra hours at the local coffee shop, carefully setting aside every tip and paycheck so he could afford something special. He had finally found the perfect gift: a silver charm bracelet from Kensington Jewelers, the most prestigious jewelry store in town. He had passed by it countless times, pressing his nose against the glass display, imagining the way Maya's eyes would light up when she saw it. Today was the day. As he approached the store, its pristine glass windows gleamed under the sunlight, reflecting the bustling streets behind him. He hesitated for a moment, adjusting his hoodie. Though it was unzipped, revealing the neatly pressed polo shirt underneath, he was well aware of how certain people reacted when they saw a young black man in a hoodie. He shook off the thought. Not today. Just walk in, buy the bracelet, and leave. Taking a deep breath, he pulled open the heavy glass door, and a soft chime rang through the store. Inside, Kensington Jewelers was everything he had expected: sleek glass display cases, velvet-lined shelves, and rows of gleaming gold and silver under bright, almost blinding lights. The faint scent of expensive cologne and polished would fill the air. The customers inside were mostly well-dressed older women, their diamond rings catching the light as they admired necklaces and earrings that cost more than Jordan had earned in his entire lifetime. He ignored their curious glances, his focus locked on the bracelet he had come for. Behind the counter stood Evelyn Thornton, a middle-aged white woman with carefully styled blonde hair and sharp, calculating eyes. Her expression was neutral at first, but the moment her gaze landed on Jordan, something in her demeanor changed. Her lips pressed into a thin line, her grip on the counter tightened ever so slightly, and her once bored eyes now carried an unmistakable scrutiny. Jordan felt it immediately, that shift, that silent but deafening question that always hung in the air when people like her looked at people like him. "What are you doing here?" He had seen that look before, had felt the weight of suspicion that clung to him like an invisible chain whenever he walked into places where people thought he didn't belong. But he refused to let it deter him. He approached the counter with a polite smile, pointing at the bracelet displayed in the case. "I'd like to see that one, please." His voice was steady and calm, the way his mother had always taught him to speak when dealing with people like this. Evelyn, however, didn't move. She simply folded her arms, tilting her head slightly. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice dripping with condescension. "That one's quite expensive." Jordan's stomach tightened, but he forced himself to keep his expression neutral. He reached into his pocket, pulling out his wallet and showing the neatly folded cash he had worked so hard to earn. "I'm sure," he said firmly. "I have the money right here." Evelyn's eyes flicked to the cash, her lips curling slightly as if the sight of it offended her. But instead of relaxing, she seemed to tense up even more. Her fingers twitched near the phone resting on the counter. She didn't move to grab the bracelet. Instead, she let out a low, almost amused scoff. "And where exactly did you get all that money?" Her voice was casual, but the accusation beneath it was sharp as a blade. Jordan stiffened. "Excuse me?" he asked, though he already knew where this was going. Evelyn arched an eyebrow. "It's just a lot of cash for someone your age," she said, her gaze never leaving his face. "Did you, I don't know, borrow it from someone? Maybe find it lying around?" Jordan's jaw clenched. He inhaled slowly, willing himself to stay calm. He had done nothing wrong. "I work at Baxter's Coffee House," he said, enunciating each word carefully. "I saved up for this." Evelyn made a soft noise of disbelief, shaking her head slightly. She hummed, tapping her nails against the counter. "And you expect me to believe that?" Jordan swallowed the anger rising in his throat. "Yes," he said flatly. Evelyn let out a dry chuckle. like she had heard a particularly ridiculous joke. "Well, I suppose I should be flattered you thought you could fool me," she said finally, moving toward the display case. "But I've been working here a long time, kid. I know when something doesn't add up." Jordan's hands curled into fists at his sides. He forced himself to unclench them. This was supposed to be simple. He hadn't come here to be humiliated. "Can I just see the bracelet, please?" he asked, his patience thinning. Evelyn sighed, as if he were inconveniencing her. But she finally pulled out the velvet tray and placed it on the counter. "Be careful with it," she warned, her tone sharp. "It's worth more than what you probably make in a year." Jordan gritted his teeth, but didn't say anything. He reached out, gently picking up the bracelet, feeling the cool silver against his fingertips. It was perfect, exactly what he had imagined. But just as he turned it slightly, admiring the way the charms dangled, the smooth metal slipped between his fingers. The bracelet tumbled to the glass counter with a soft clink before bouncing off and hitting the tiled floor below. The moment it happened, Jordan's breath caught in his throat. Before he could even move to pick it up, Evelyn let out a sharp, piercing shriek. "Oh my God! I knew it!" she shouted, her voice slicing through the store like a siren. Every head in the room turned toward them. Jordan's eyes widened. "Wait!" Evelyn jabbed a finger at him, her face twisted in outrage. "I knew you were up to something. You were trying to pocket it, weren't you? Thought you'd get away with it." Jordan's stomach dropped. "What? No. Evelyn lunged for the store phone, her fingers dialing frantically. "Get the police here now. Now!" She barked into the receiver. "We've got a thief. Young black male, hoodie, tried to steal from us." Jordan stood frozen, the weight of her words slamming into him like a freight train. The room had gone silent, but the air was thick with something heavy, judgment, suspicion, fear. He could feel the eyes of every customer drilling into him, the way their postures shifted, the way a woman clutched her purse a little tighter. And then, in the distance, the wail of approaching sirens pierced the air. The sirens grew louder, an eerie wail slicing through the once quiet afternoon. Jordan felt his pulse hammer against his ribs as the weight of the moment crashed down on him. He had known this could happen. He had seen it before, on the news, in whispered conversations, in the fear that crept into his mother's voice whenever she reminded him to be careful when he left the house. But knowing it could happen and living it were two entirely different things.